is my first TikTok live. So I'm excited about it, and I am here today to really talk about real estate. Questions and answers. I'll try to answer as many questions as you have for me. Just to kind of give you a background story, is I've been doing real estate for about 24 years now. Really started out with my parents owning a 3-family home, and we lived on the first floor. And growing up, I used to pretty much help out my father as much as I possibly could. Of course, I was kind of a little bit of, had my own things that I wanted to do, but in between tenants, I would be that person to help my father to go upstairs and sweep and maybe do some painting and definitely quite a lot of cleanup and that sort of thing. So I would be up there and trying to fix things as much as possible for them so that we could get prepared for the next tenant. And my parents, they were the kind of people, which they still are, that they are very, very generous people. And they would have people that would come along that would want to rent out the apartment, but maybe they didn't have enough money for the security deposit, or maybe they had a couple of young babies and young children, and they were having a hard time getting a rental somewhere else. So my parents were the type of people that they would give them the rent. Now these renters just needed a hand. They needed some help, but they didn't have the qualifications. Maybe they went through eviction previously. Maybe they didn't have enough money to pay the rent or even a job. And my mother and father, being the generous people they are and feeling bad for people, they would basically give them the rent. And so in many cases, they kind of got burnt. Right? And so they would be that person that ultimately, or those landlords that ultimately would lose money. And I kind of saw that growing up, and I saw the stress and the pressures. And so I got myself a wonderful corporate job. I went to college, got my bachelor's, got my master's, went to one corporation where I got involved in management, which was pretty awesome. And it had a regular paycheck coming in. And everything just seemed to be going pretty well with that scenario. And then had a recruiter and had another business colleague that said, "Hey, you got to come to this other corporation. It's going to be so much better. And you're going to make a lot more money." And we had just did pretty well on this one corporate stock. And so we had a few extra bucks, and we decided to buy some investment properties, right? And so we started buying property after property after property. And it was the case back in those days that, we could get some pretty large seller credits, and we could be able to use those for repairs, and then we would be able to build up equity because the market was going up. This is in the early 2000s. And it was going up and going up. And so now we were building equity quicker, and we were able to leverage that money to buy another property and another property. So before you know, we started building a pretty good portfolio together. Now, when I went to this other company, I'm not going to name names, but, for those of you who know who I am, you know what I did. And I was like, it felt like I was working at the firm. I don't know if anybody saw the movie The Firm, but that's what it felt like. And I just couldn't take it from one day to the next. I was traveling one day a week. I was pretty much all over the place trying to take care of my family. And I finally got to the point where I decided, let me get my real estate license. Because I felt if I got my real estate license, I would have more under control. Whenever I wanted to go look at a property, I would be able to go look at it, right? Whenever I wanted to be able to make an offer, I would be able to make that offer. I didn't have to necessarily worry about it, right? So that was kind of the story with that.
Okay, I'm good at that. Yeah, and I wish I could. That's okay.
All right. I wasn't sure exactly how to end the live, so this is being my first time. I figured I'd take a look at that button. So anyways, share this live because I'm kind of going through my personal story about real estate and so forth. So I was that person that I wanted to have more in control in real estate. I wanted to be able to look at these properties whenever I needed to. I wanted to be able to make an offer whenever I wanted to. And so I said, you know what? Let me get my license. Thought it was pretty cool. So I got my real estate license, and before you know it, it was helping us to buy more properties easier, learning more about negotiating, learning more about being able to handle things step by step, right? And being able to learn about more about the business. And what I basically found, hey, Joe Andy, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, let me know. What I basically found as I got my real estate license and started buying properties is like, wow, I could help out more people easier if I'm able to help out these tenants. And so these tenants, even though they were my tenants, I was like, listen, if I can help them buy their own house, that's going to help improve their life. And especially I would see these children, and maybe a lot of these children didn't have their own bedroom, and I didn't have my own bedroom growing up, and maybe these people, they're lugging up groceries to the second and third floor. And so I knew that they were going through some tough times, and they didn't feel a sense of encouragement, hope that they would have their own. And so that's why I was able to really focus on a lot of tenants and helping them buy a home of their own as I was buying more and more investment properties. So I thought that was pretty cool to be able to do. And it kind of got to the point that not only was I helping the tenants, but I was also listing properties, right? And I thought that was pretty important to have the very best technology available to learn the techniques and so forth to be able to sell properties for people, because people wanted to move and, they wanted to upsize and so forth, and people still do, or they maybe want to move out of state and so forth. So it kind of got to the point where I felt like, wow, I don't need to come to this corporate job anymore, right? I don't need to have to deal with everything involved with that, which I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. And going to that office every single day and being somewhere that you might not necessarily like or might not necessarily want to be at. So I felt like, hey, well, the Lord has blessed me. I put in some hard time. I put in my work. And so now is going to be the time. I told my boss, I said, if a separation package, an early separation package was to come up, I would love it. I would be that person for that separation package, right? And wouldn't you know, maybe about 4 or 5 months later, my boss came along and said, Rob, now's the time. We got it for you. We have to lay off this many people, and otherwise you're going to have to go to this other department anyways, and you're going to get this many weeks, and you're going to get this much, insurance and all this good stuff. And I said, let's go for it. And I took the plunge. I had at the time, I think they were 2-3-year-old triplets, 2 or 3 years old, 2.5 years old. And I took the plunge, and everybody around me thought that I was crazy, right? Hey, Casey Snyder, thanks for joining me. You can share with people, going over some real estate questions that you might have, and talking about some of the opportunities that we have in real estate, and even buyer and home seller profiles. So kind of going through my past right now a little bit. So I appreciate you joining. And so with that in mind, I took the separation package. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I was able to get going forward, right? I was able to make something pretty much out of nothing, pretty much out of learning and building and building and building, and finally be able to grow my own business, and really ended up starting my own brokerage, right? And as I started my own brokerage, I realized, wow, there's a lot involved. I mean, you're talking everything from leasing a space to paying for heat to paying for air conditioning, especially one of my first years in business, our air conditioning unit broke. And of course, what did we do? Well, we called up the owner of the building. And he said, oh, well, you're going to have to take a look at your lease there, sir, because that central air unit you're responsible for. And we were like, you gotta be kidding me. But, that's, of course, what was in the lease. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you are looking at those leases, right? So, with that in mind, we kind of took on all the different responsibilities that were needed for that. And there was a lot of excitement, but it does get tough, right? You do have to have tenacity. You do have to understand that, hey, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to make this happen for me and my family, right? And that's with anything if you want to get ahead. So, with that in mind, hey, yes, BBC, thanks for joining us, kind of going over some real estate past here. So, started my own brokerage. And since then, I haven't looked back, right? There's been some rough times and so forth, but we keep on moving forward and understanding how we can help as many people as possible. So if you have any real estate questions, I'm a broker and been doing real estate for about 22 years. I help people with the pre-licensing class. I help people with credit repair, and so I definitely have the knowledge and experience to be able to help you every step of the way. So as I'm kind of going through an opportunity here to go over some profiles, right? And as I'm going through, if you have questions, write them down. At the same time, I will be going through some home buyer and home seller processing profiles, so you'll kind of understand, maybe what's going on in the business as well. Because, we have an entire year of data, not only for a rough year when it comes to COVID, right? But knowing, okay, well, what did buyers and sellers purchase during the COVID pandemic, right? Because it was a very distinctive market, right? It was a market that we had historically low inventory, but we had very, very high year-over-year home price gains. And why do we have those home price gains? Well, one of the main reasons, of course, because there's low inventory, but also with the way the economy was working and with low interest rates, right? So right now, here we are in February 2022, and buyers are still entering the market, right? I mean, the market is still hot, and there's a lot of competition in the marketplace to purchase homes. It used to be years ago that there was a lot of competition to sell homes, right? It was kind of tough. You had to make sure you were marketing it to the max. You had to make sure that you were really pushing to try to get as much exposure as possible. But now, right, there's buyers out there and they want to be closer. Maybe, hey, Shadow, thanks for joining us. They want to be closer to maybe their family, maybe their friends. Maybe they're looking for a larger home, right? Because the pandemic, didn't it change how we are using our homes? Yeah, it changed how we're using our homes. How many people now are working from home, and it changed the locations in which most people want to buy homes, right? So there was definitely a jump in buyers. Hey, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, please make sure you post them so that I can see them. And if anybody wants to post anything, that would be great. That way I can kind of see what's going on with that and understand, how things are going. And if anyone has any questions. So what we're doing right now, if you don't have any real estate questions, is we're going over the profile of home buyers and home sellers. So we know that a lot of these trends, right, they're changing. We have a lot of different information on demographics, housing characteristics, and even the experience of the consumers and people that are buying. Hey, thanks for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. It kind of was telling a little bit of story about me growing up in a 3-family home, and I'm learning how to deal with tenants. Just a funny example, which I don't want to embarrass anybody, but but hey, my father's probably never going to watch this. You know, his example of giving notification to the tenants to, let's just say, move their car or make sure they pay the rent on time, or really stop basically aggravating my mother, was to go to the back hallway and scream, "Now here, this second floor and third floor, please move your cars, or please make sure you pay your rent on time." And so that was kind of a funny thing. I used to watch my father, and that was his way of making sure that the tenants would know what was going on. There was no such thing back then as sending a certified letter. He wasn't getting involved with that, right? He wasn't worried about that. He wanted to make sure that they knew the rent had to be paid on time, or that they needed to move their cars, or whatever my mother pretty much wanted him to take care of at the time. So I always thought that that was kind of funny with that in mind. So we know, like we said, that home buying is changing, right? Home buying is changing, right? And so one of the ways that we do is we kind of collect data. So would you know that the share of first time, and this is right from the National Association of Realtors, right? The share of first time home buyers grew from 34%, to 34% from 31%. Wow, so you might be like, oh, that's only 3%. That's not a big deal. Well, think about the thousands and thousands of homes that were sold in 2021. To go up 3% is pretty good for first-time home buyers. And so why did some of those things happen? Well, of course it was, like we talked a little bit about, record low interest rates, right? And if anybody has a question, please post it. This again is my very first live TikTok. So I'm trying to get to learn the system a little bit and want to see how I'm able to, interact with the system. So that would be great. I haven't necessarily seen any questions yet, right? So if you have a question, please let me know. And again, thank you for those of you that are following, and I will definitely make sure that I go back after this. Hey, there we go, Kung Fu Lich, and congrats on the live. I appreciate it. Yes, and thanks for joining me. And if you want to follow me, believe me, I am that person that will follow you back. I love to interact with people, connect with people, so and I want to be able to help you every step of the way. I want to be able to give you the information that you need, and especially when it comes to real estate. So we know that, of course, with record low interest rates, that helped us tremendously. But did you know that 31% of the buyers from 2021, they paid the asking price for the home? While so that was 31% paid what the asking price is, right? That you see maybe on the multiple listing service, or maybe you see that on Zillow, or maybe you see that on Realtor.com and so forth. While 29% paid more, right? So you're talking, and it's probably even more than that. And this is national. Yes, this is right from the National Association of Realtors, Home Buyers and Home Sellers report. So nationally speaking, 29% paid more for the asking price. So I would tell you, like in Connecticut specifically, I think it's more. I actually ran a report yesterday for multifamilies in Harford County, and I actually found, which I thought this was interesting, that people are pretty much paying about the asking price. But we know that some sellers are starting to kick it up. Some sellers really, which you can't blame them, they want to really kick up that price and see how far they can go. And, just as an example, on Monday, I'm going to go show a 3-family home in Hartford for $389,000. Now, if you're one of those people that you're from Boston or New York City or Washington, D.C. or California, right? You might, I see here, Kung Fu, you're in Utah. Californians are moving here, right? So in California, they might be paying for this 3-family, I'm just going to make it up, $700,000 to $1 million, right? But in Harford County, $389,000 for a home where you're getting maybe $1,200 a month for a 3-unit. you're not really making any money as an investor. It's really kind of tough. And so one of the things that I do is I really go over the P&L, profit and loss, and discuss with my particular buyers what I think that they can actually get for that house. And we go over those numbers and we talk about those numbers and so forth, right? So like we talked about, 29% nationally paid more than the asking price, right? Tightened inventory is pretty important. Right now there's a lot of people that they just don't want to move, right? Or if they're moving to some place in the area, let's just say Connecticut, it's really hard for them to find another home. So, I mean, the most success or the happiest listing appointment is when someone calls me up here in Connecticut and they say, hey, Rob, I want to sell my house and I want to have the closing, let's say by April 30th, because I have a new building construction in Florida and I'm moving and I'm already got a place to go. Then I'm like, yes, right? Because that's like a home run. I can sell this property for the most money possible and we don't have to worry necessarily about like, oh, wow, where is this person going to move to, right? Because it's kind of hard. The pandemic has made it difficult to make a home trade, right? The pandemic has made it difficult for people who are looking for another place. Now, well, what are some of the top reasons that people have sold a home, according to the National Association of Realtors survey for 2021? Well, we know some of these already. The desire to be close to friends and family, right? Maybe their house was too small. I mean, again, how many of you are need a home office right now, right? The tenure in a home dropped to 8 years from 10 years, right? So people are buying and selling more often than before if they can, right? So I thought that was interesting. How about this one? Among sellers, right? During 2021, according to the National Association of Realtors survey, 46% purchased a larger home, right? And 28% purchased the same size home, right? So 46% of people, right, when they're selling a home, and you have to remember, we're talking a lot of their senior citizens involved. There's people who want to downsize, but 46% of them were looking to buy another home, right? So I thought that was interesting. Now, how about real estate professionals, which I am one of them, right? Are they needed? Well, on the surface, people could say, nope, we don't need them anymore. We could do everything on the internet. People can buy houses and cars and food and coffee. I mean, I think it's the coolest thing. I can get up in the morning and just go on my phone and have a coffee delivered to my house if I don't want to make it. Well, I'm usually that person that's going to make my own coffee. I'm a little bit old school when it comes to that. But when we talk about are real estate agents needed, okay, do buyers need the help of a real estate professional to find the right home and negotiate the terms? Well, I would tell you, think about it this way. How many people have gone through negotiating training, right? And what we found is that 88%, that's 88, right? 88% of buyers used an agent to help them purchase a home, right? So, people are seeing the value in good real estate salespeople, right? They're understanding that, yes, most of the time, and it's kind of funny, I have buyers who will say, oh, well, I found the house myself. I found the house on Zillow or Realtor.com or this website or that website. Yes, that's not hard to find a home on the internet. Like, think about it this way. You can ask your 10-year-old child, say, hey, listen, I want you to find me a home in my town with 3 bedrooms, at least 1.5 baths, and I want it to be between $300,000 and $500,000. Can you do that for me? And it's not really that hard to do that. I mean, they would probably be able to do a search on the internet pretty darn easy, right? And also buyers are looking all times, at all times of the day, at all times of the night. Whereas as real estate agents, yes, we have our automated searches, but we have those systems to be more efficient and effective for you, because as soon as a new home comes on the market, well, guess what? Usually we're a part of the multiple listing service for that local area, and that system is going to automatically send it to you like within seconds. So you don't have to necessarily worry about going on a big search and spending your time and your energy, right? But 88% of buyers, they did use a real estate agent. Now, sellers at the same time, right? They turned to professionals to price their home competitively, help market the home to potential buyers, sell within their best time frame, and fix up the home for sale. And guess what? 90% of sellers used an agent to sell their home. Right? So 88% of buyers, 90% of sellers, right, used an agent. Again, have decided to do like a for sale by owner, of course, but we can go over some of those numbers. And I know, I might sound like, oh yeah, you're just saying that because you're a real estate agent, Rob. Well, you're going to find out as we go through these numbers that most of the time, a for sale by owner is going to actually lose money, even after paying a commission when they try to do it themselves, right? And so this report, these numbers, they're going to kind of talk about, what do consumers want when choosing a real estate professional? I think that's important to know, right? How do home buyers begin the process of searching for a home? Why do some sellers choose to forego, that 10% of people, why do they choose to forego the assistance of an agent? And so these answers to these questions, along with other findings, are going to help you and I and people who are interested in real estate to understand the housing market, provide the information necessary to address the needs of Americas. And I'm specifically in Connecticut, but I think I might be doing something in Florida soon, right? I'm specifically in Connecticut to understand the consumers, right? To understand what they are looking to do, right? So let's think about the numbers a little bit. And we're going to do a comparison of 20 years. And I think this is really pretty cool. Maybe there's going to come a time when I can hold up some charts or I can write on the screen and that sort of thing. So I'm going to ask you just to kind of, stick with me a little bit, share, follow, right? Share my live, follow me. I'm that person who will follow back. This is my very first TikTok, so I'm kind of excited about it. I've been kind of going back and forth in my mind about what I thought was the best way to do it. And you know what? I kind of got to the point this morning that thinking about it like, hey, you know what? In 25 minutes, I'm going to show some houses today. And I'm sitting in a coffee shop and I'm like, let me start my TikTok live. Let's do this. So I'm excited to be here with you for a few more minutes. All right, let's go over, I'm going to go over one chart here for a few minutes. So 1981 versus 2021, 20 years, right? Well, in 1981, 0% of the people use the internet to do a home search. 0, right? In 2021, 95%. Okay? How about this? In 1981, 22% of people used the newspaper to search for a home. Now, you might think, well, newspapers are dead. Nobody looks at newspapers at all. Well, it's still, believe it or not, 7% in 2021 used the newspapers to search for homes. Right? And again, you might be like, Rob, you're full of baloney. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, I can tell you, these are not my numbers. This is from the National Association of Realtors. I have confidence in them. So this is the 2021 highlights. Okay. How about this one? Kind of interesting. In 1981, 93% of people did financing for a home purchase. 93% of people did financing.
I didn't even know that.
In 2021,
I just had this feeling.
87% of the people. So it actually went down, like meaning that 6% less people from 93 to 87, 6% less people financed a home. Guess what? That means that more people are paying in cash, right? More people are paying in cash when they actually buy a home. And again, thank you so much for those of you who are joining me. This is my very first TikTok. We're going over real estate questions. If you have any, please make sure you post them. But in the also what we're doing is we're going over profiles of home buyers and home sellers for 2021. And follow me, because I will be that person that will follow you back. I can promise you that. All right. So one of the things we're doing right now is we're going over the differences between 1981 and 2021. Right? Actually, this is 40 years difference. 40 years difference between 1981. 1981, the typical down payment was 20% down. Right? In 2021, 13% is the typical down payment. Well, do you know? And if you don't know, you should get with a local real estate agent. If you're in Connecticut, definitely come talk with me right away. Leave me a message and I'll help you. Believe it or not, and I know some of you are going to think that this is baloney, but I'm going to tell you very straightforwardly. Here in Connecticut, for the most part, generally speaking, it's easier, in my opinion, to buy a home than it is to rent a home. Come on, Rob. There's no way that could be. Yes, I'm telling you it is. Because generally speaking, when you have a rental and you put it on the market and it's in pretty good shape, it's a pretty good location, you're going to get top dollar for it. And you're going to get tons and tons of showings and tons of applications, you as that landlord. And you're going to be able to get the cream of the crop. You're going to be able to choose anybody you want to choose. And I can tell you that. But when it comes to you as that tenant or buyer, well, guess what? In many cases, we can help you buy a home with a 580 credit score. And you might be like, well, Rob, my credit score is not 580. Well, guess what? I help people with credit repair. All you need to do is let me know, and I do it nationwide. We can help you with credit repair. So if you need someone that you can trust, that you can feel comfortable with, a real person, not somebody who's hiding behind the internet, you just give me a call, you leave me a message, whatever it might be, and we'll definitely discuss it. So credit repair, we can take care of. You get a 580 credit or above, and if we can get you up to 620, maybe 640, well, guess what? We can get you no money down programs. And you might be like, well, I'm nervous about that. Well, yeah, in some cases you have to be a little bit concerned because you want to make sure that your monthly payment is not more than what you can afford. But that's why I'm telling you it's easier to buy a house than it is to rent, because you can go out there and create your own opportunities. Whereas with a renter, I mean, I had somebody yesterday, they're looking for a $1,500 a month rental for a single family home. It was hard to find any. And then when we did find them, the landlord was like, okay, we only want 725 credit and above. You need to make at least 4 times more, or your rent cannot be, you need to make 4 times more than the rent. So if the rent is $1,500, you need to show that you're making $6,000 a month, right? You might be like, I don't make $6,000 a month. Can't have any evictions and so forth. But you can't have any dogs. You can only have 2 children, right? You have to sign a 1-year lease. All these kind of restrictions. But when you buy a house, they don't ask you if you've been evicted before. Yes, they're going to be looking that you're making a certain amount of money, but it doesn't necessarily have to be 4 times. I mean, you can, in many cases, you can get a $1,500 a month mortgage by making $3,000 or $4,000 a month, right? So you see, in many cases, it is easier. And again, thank you for those of you that have joined. I definitely appreciate it. I'm going to kind of wind down now. This was my very first TikTok. I'm going to be coming on here more often. And if you follow me, I will make sure that I follow back. And if you have questions, whether it's about real estate, of course, home buying, commercial, residential, like I discussed, credit repair, I can help you with nationwide, even if you're not in Connecticut, or if you are in Connecticut or thinking about moving and you want to start a career in real estate, you just reach out to me and let me know. So that, my friends, is my first TikTok. It's Rob Rosa. Hopefully your favorite real estate. Signing out. I definitely wish you the best with everything. And I hope you have an awesome weekend. Have a good time at the Super Bowl. And then hopefully we'll see you soon. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Raisins.